Hey everyone, welcome back to the Just Hyke Podcast, where we inspire women to get outside, explore new trails, and discover what's possible one step at a time. Today I'm joined by Tory, outdoor enthusiast, content creator, and author. If you've ever wondered where to find hidden gems, scenic overlooks, waterfalls, and memorable hiking experiences in Pennsylvania, then you're in for a treat.
Hi.
Hey Tory, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Welcome to the Just Hyke Podcast. I'm excited to get to know you and what you're working on and what you love and what you're passionate about.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
so tell me, first of all, tell me about you and then tell me about the book that you recently wrote.
Sure. So, my name is Tory Mather. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am known online as Tory Talks Trails, Tory. And in 2021, I started a blog about hiking in Ohio and where I lived before I moved here in Western Pennsylvania. And so, really enjoyed sharing information about hikes in the area, and then was like, bloggers have to have social media. So I started my social media account, and that has actually been like really fun. And I really enjoy making videos about hiking. And I was not really particularly outdoorsy or sporty as a kid. I was like an indoor book kid. I was like that kid that carried a book around to read everywhere and
Really? That's like
would
my
rather
son. That's the
yeah,
way he is. Yeah.
would rather spend time in the library. And but I started getting into hiking when I lived in California in 2019. We got our dog, who is really crazy, super high energy, and I got tired of taking him on the same loop around our neighborhood. So I kept looking for places to take him. And then I realized, oh, I'm hiking, and had done some of that when we moved from California to Ohio. So did some of that when I was in Ohio. And then when I moved to Pittsburgh, I got hurt, and I had been doing I was a runner, I was doing CrossFit, I was a rower, and I couldn't do any of those things. So when I couldn't do any of my hobbies, that was when I decided to start my blog, because I've always loved writing. And then as I was like getting better and my injury was getting better, I started walking more, and again started hiking. So it was one of those things where it felt like hiking came into my life every time I needed it, and got really into it then, and have not looked back since. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. So tell me about your dog. What kind of dog do you have?
We call him a California super mutt because he
Yeah.
is part mini poodle, part pit bull, and part chihuahua.
Oh, wow.
So it's
How
like
big is
all of
he?
he's like 35 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, he's
So it's like
Brin,
Chihuahua and Pitbull.
yeah, yeah. He's brindle looking. So we think he gets that from the pit bull side, and he's very barrel chested, but then he's got this very scruffy fur, and he doesn't shed that much. So we think he gets that from the poodle side. And then we think he gets his stranger danger attitude from Chihuahua.
Interesting. Wow. What inspired you to write the book? And tell me about the book.
Yeah, so I have it right here. It's
Okay.
called Scenic Natural Wonders of Pennsylvania, and it is 84 places to get outside in Pennsylvania: waterfalls, caves, overlooks, and natural areas.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks. It's very exciting. So it came out April 15th, so it's still pretty new, which is amazing. And I mentioned I was always a little bit of a writer. So I kept journals growing up, and I was a huge reader. So I always thought I would be interested in writing a book. I just thought it would be like a fantasy book or
sure.
something.
Yeah.
And so when I started my blog, I realized how much I enjoyed writing more guide focused things, and fact checking, and taking photos of real things. And so in 2024, I met someone who wrote for Reedy Press, which is my publisher, and she was like, they were great to work with. If you're ever thinking about a book, like, you should consider pitching them. So I was like, okay, yeah, I've got an idea, I'll go pitch them. And I pitched them this idea, and they were like, we don't really like that idea, but we have this series that we're trying to restart. So the Scenic Natural Wonders series, they're going to do one for every state, and Pennsylvania is actually the first one to come out.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very cool. So did you actually travel around to all these different places and
Yes.
yeah?
Yes. I spent
Wow.
101 days away from home last year,
Wow.
which was a lot. I did not get my money's worth on my mortgage, I would say.
Uh-oh.
Do that a little bit more this year, but yeah, I traveled around the whole state. I started with a spreadsheet of probably 250 places and then slowly narrowed it down and tried to include a mix of different types of things. I joke that if it was up to me, this book would be 84 waterfalls because I love waterfalls.
Yes, of course.
But not everybody feels that way. So I have to do a different mix of things and accessibility levels and locations within the state. So it was this very complex mapping of where are all the things. And if somebody buys the book anywhere in the state, I want them to be able to be within 30 minutes to an hour of a place that they could go that's in the book. And then the balance of all the different types of stuff, and then the balance of, okay, here's what's a roadside stop versus here's what's a 9 mile hike with 3,000 feet of elevation gains.
Yeah.
Yeah, making sure to try to have something for everyone in the book.
Yeah, that's very thoughtful. Very thoughtful because you're right. Some people can't walk. A lot of people cannot walk 9 miles and 3,000 elevation gain, but they can go maybe a half a mile to a waterfall or a roadside stop or whatever it
Yes.
is. So that's great that you're thoughtful enough to include all of those things in that process. So let's say I was going to Pennsylvania for the weekend and it was open as to anywhere in Pennsylvania. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just beaming in. And where would you recommend to go? Like where would be your top two places to go in Pennsylvania?
That is a great question. So I would say like Northeast PA or Southwest PA. And I'll start with Southwest. Go to the Laurel Highlands area. There we have Ohiopyle State Park, Laurel Ridge State Park, Laurel Hill State Park. Our newest state park, Laurel Caverns, is an underground state park. So
Cool.
super cool. And Ohiopyle, I think, is one of the best state parks in the state because you can whitewater raft, you can do a bunch of different waterfall hikes. You are close to two different Frank Lloyd Wright houses. There's a little town there, so you can shop and have that experience. So there's it also the Gap Trail, the Great Allegheny Passage bike trail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of options for everyone in Ohiopyle. And then Northeast PA, I would say the Delaware Water Gap area is really great. So that's the border of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Tons of waterfalls there, including Pennsylvania's tallest waterfall, Raymond Skill Falls. And then you would also be relatively close enough to the Poconos, which has another bunch of very awesome waterfalls. And then one of the favorite places that I visited for the book, Taynersville Bog Cranberry Preserve, which is a bog environment. And I saw an otter there in real life. So that was like one of the coolest experiences while researching for the book. It's a very sensitive ecosystem. So you actually can't go into the main bog area unless you're on a guided tour through the educational center that's near.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which is super interesting. It's cool that they do that to be able to preserve the ecosystem for all the wildlife.
So during your research and your travels, what's a couple of stories that maybe still make you smile? I know the otter, so the otter
Yes.
makes you smile. Yes.
Yeah, the otter was a big one, and that was my grandmother was pretty sick at the time, and it just felt, and she had a stroke, so she couldn't really communicate, and so it just kind of felt like seeing the otter was like, her communicating because she loves
Really?
all the animals.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then I had never been to Ricketts Glen State Park, and that is a state park that has a trail with 22 named waterfalls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a 7 mile trail, and it's just every time you turn the corner, it's like a waterfall. And so, as someone who loves waterfalls, I was so excited by it. I started crying at one point, and I was with a friend who had visited before, and so she was really excited to take me to this place that she knew that I loved. And so that was a fun friend memory to be able to do that. It was a good time.
That's awesome. Very beautiful. So you've spent a lot of time exploring these places. How
Yes.
has this opportunity changed how you protect or care for the outdoor spaces?
I don't know that I would say that the book necessarily would, but as I started my blog and social media presence in late 2021, and I started learning about principles of leave no trace, and here's a threat to this endangered species. And I think that all of that combined has made me very much more, I feel like I was always a proponent of conservation and education, but to a point that I'm like, I want to get as many people outside to enjoy these places, to understand that we need to protect these places, especially because there are so many threats to them right now. And so I really tried to weave a lot of the conservation stuff into the book. My introduction talks about leave no trace. There's a place in Lancaster that I included in the book that the story of that place is the parking lots were closed down. So the reason that they closed the parking lots was because the place was being overloved, as the Conservancy referred to it. And so now, instead of being able to do a short hike to this beautiful area, you have to do this 4-mile hike that is very hard with 1,000 feet of elevation gain in the last mile to be able to get in and out of the preserve. But I think I wanted to include that because that story is really important. We have to be cautious of these places, and we have to make sure we are taking care of them as best we can, or we're going to lose access to them, either because the land steward is like, okay, this is not being preserved the way it needs to, and doing things like closing the parking lots, which is best case scenario, or worst case scenario, we just destroy it and it's not there anymore for future generations.
Yeah. And then also what also could happen is that it gets turned into, let's say, a parking lot, or it gets turned into, a condo development or whatever. There's that end of it too. And yeah, I agree 100% that we have to, I think it's partially my mission too, to encourage people to get outside and explore these places so that we have more people who are passionate about it, so that we do keep them around for as long as we can. But not in the hundreds of thousands. We have to, it's this delicate balance, like you said. People there, but not too many. Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where the more people know about great places and different great places, right? This is one thing that I really try to be cautious and careful of with social media is if something blows up and goes viral, you have so many people seeing this one specific place, but the goal is to make sure that people know that, okay, yeah, that place is great, but then there's also these 17 other places around that are just as nice and just as cool, and you just might not know about it. So trying to educate on as many, both while you're there, protect, do the right thing, follow leave no trace principles, but also go to the places that aren't as popular or loved and learn more about them. And I think Pennsylvania is a really underrated outdoor rec state. We actually have more. In 2024, Pennsylvania's outdoor rec contributed $20.4 billion to the economy, which is more than Colorado's outdoor rec.
Wow.
Contributed to the economy. Not by a lot, only by $2 billion, but still, that's something that you think of Colorado, the first thing you think of is outdoor rec. I don't think that's what people think about for Pennsylvania.
I agree. And I think it's great that Pennsylvania is getting into that realm more by investing those dollars in it to maybe pull some of those people away from Colorado, because maybe Colorado is, let's say, overloved, right? I think just about everybody in Texas wants to go to Colorado. And I know so many people who have moved there, or they have a second place over in Colorado. And it would be great to have other outdoor states where you start to have that draw as well. So yes, we need to diversify our love for the outdoor spaces.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So what would you say to someone who wants to get outside more but doesn't know where to start?
That's a great question. I think I would say go to a outdoor volunteering event, because, and yes, you're like, okay, I want to hike, I want to paddle, I want to do these things that aren't like pulling invasive species. But I think volunteer events, especially trash pickup, invasive species removal, trail cleanup, or trail building, you meet people, you meet people who want to do all of the same outdoor things. So one of the questions I get a lot is, are you going to lead a guided hike? Because I want to meet people who want to hike. And I do some guided hikes, but not a ton. And so I always recommend to those people, if you're going to pick up trash at 8 a.m. on a Saturday in a park, I guarantee that at least half of those people would be willing to go hiking at 8 a.m. on Sunday with you. And so I have met a lot of my friends in Pittsburgh. Moving around in your 30s is tough. And I've done it 3 times. And so to completely uproot your life and try to meet new people and create your community, volunteering is 100% the way to go, I think. And then a lot of the volunteer organizations are run through either a gear shop or an educational center. And then you get connected with people who can help teach you. I wanted to go backpacking for the first time. And so I went to my local gear shop and I was like, hey, do you guys know a really good route for a 1-night beginner backpacking trip? And they helped guide me and helped figure out what gear I needed. And they had gear rentals, and using resources like that is really helpful and also helps you get ingrained in the outdoor community as well.
Absolutely. Now, do you have a favorite place in Pennsylvania where you'd like to go visit?
That's really hard because every place that I included in my book, I love them so much.
Really?
But so I spent 6 years living in Philly, like on the east side of the state, and now I live almost for 5 years in Pittsburgh on the west side of the state. And some of my favorite places out here, I really love Raccoon Creek State Park. And I love that state park because it's got a wildflower reserve, which has over 700 species of native wildflowers, like different types of wildflowers. So it's beautiful when the flowers are in bloom. It's also got a waterfall, so love that. It's got a backpacking loop. I love backpacking. That's a great one where I can leave my house at 4 o'clock on a Friday, like hike out to the shelter, be there by 6 or 6:30, and then finish the next day and still be in Pittsburgh for a dinner reservation on Saturday. So
nice.
It's like you get out and you're out of the city, but you're not like, oh, I have to cancel all of my weekend plans and take 5 days of PTO to be able to do this thing.
Yeah.
And then they also have a lake, so that's great for kayaking and paddling, which I like doing as well. So I think that I love that park for the diversity of what they have there.
That was called Raccoon Park, is that right?
Raccoon Creek State Park, yeah.
Raccoon Creek State Park. Nice.
Yes.
And so if someone was coming from out of state, they would fly into, where would they fly? Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And that state park is actually pretty close to the airport. So
nice.
I think it's only 20 or 30 minutes away. So it's actually closer to the airport than it is to my house. So.
Nice. So flights, sometimes you can get flights for pretty cheap, right? So you could fly into Pittsburgh, go do a weekend hike, and then fly back. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So what's next for you? And 2 things, actually. One, where can we find your book? Right?
Yeah. So my book is, you can either buy it directly from me. So I have a link on my social media page and my website that will take you to my Square site, and then it will get shipped directly from me and it'll be autographed. So if that's something you care about, that's where you can find it. It is also on bookshop.org. So you can support your favorite local bookstore by buying it through Bookshop, and then you can literally select any bookstore. So I find that's really fun because there's so many independent bookstores in Pittsburgh that I love to be able to support, even if they don't have that specific book. It is also at Barnes & Noble, and it's also on Amazon.
Nice. Very good. And so what's next for you? Any adventures or projects or trails that you're excited about?
I feel like so many things, and I also have so many ideas of things I want to do. So we just finished hiking the West Highland Way in Scotland. Yeah, which was great. And so I think our next one is going to be either Alta Via 1 or Tour de Mont Blanc next year at some point. So that's my next big backpacking adventure. And then I have a bunch of book events in Pennsylvania. So so far, they've been mostly concentrated in Western Pennsylvania with a couple in Central Pennsylvania. And so I'm going to have some more over the summer in Central and Eastern Pennsylvania. So try to get out and meet people in different parts of the state. I think it's a bigger state than people realize. It takes me 5.5 hours to get from one end to the other. So just trying to meet people and get my book out there in the world.
Very fun. That's awesome. So just to close things off, So, what do you hope people feel after spending a day on the trail?
Ooh, that is good. I would hope that they feel energized to educate and preserve the place educate about and preserve the place that they have been. And I think that's something that every time I go on a new trail and learn about or learn the backstory of a new place, like all I want to do is tell people about it and the story of it and how can we help it. I was just at a lake called Glade Run Lake that's a little bit north of the city, and it's a really cool story of the community coming together because it's this man-made lake, and they had a crack in the dam, I think in 2011. So the whole lake had to be drained, and they
Oh,
were like,
wow.
this is going to cost $4 million. Like the community can't afford it. And so the Glade Run Lake Conservancy was created. And so the Conservancy did all this community education and fundraising. And they, 4 years later, were able to get the funding from combination of the state and federal and fundraise it themselves. And now this lake it was filled in 2017, and the community has it again as an asset. So it's just, people can make a difference. And I think especially now with everything going on with data centers coming in, and it just feels like there's so much you can't do, but we as a community, as an outdoor community, can make a difference and change things and preserve our land and our natural resources.
Very nice. Now, have the trails taught you something about yourself that surprised you?
Oh, that is also a great question. So my first backpacking through hike was the Laurel Highlands Hiking Trail, which is in southwestern Pennsylvania. And before I got into hiking and backpacking at all, I was a rower, and I was a lightweight rower. And that means you have to keep your weight under a certain amount in order to be able to compete. And so that causes a lot, I would say, of disordered eating, and you're counting calories, and your day is made or broken by, am I 131 pounds or am I 129 pounds? And I stopped rowing as a lightweight in 2014, but some of those habits stay with you. And I think really until I did my first backpacking through hike on the Laurel Highlands Trail, where I had to be strong to carry my stuff. I had to eat all the time in order to be fueled enough to be able to carry my stuff and to finish the trail. That trip for me almost changed my brain chemistry of how I felt about food.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think it's not something where I would say I had an eating disorder, but it was like I could look at a vending machine and tell you the calories of every single thing in the vending machine, and like that's not normal. So to not have that trip and then to come out of it and to be like, no, food is fuel, and I need to eat, and I need to eat these things, and I need to carry this much food, and I need to, like, I carried 38 to 35 to 38 pounds on that trail. And
Wow, that's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, and you're tiny.
But
You're tiny. You're not a big person. You're tiny.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like my 125-pound self could not have done that, but my 145-pound self did.
there
And
you
so
go. Good for you.
to see my body in a different light because of backpacking, I think that is one of the things that changed me for the better. And I would
Wow.
hope that other people can experience that, because it was truly like a switch almost flipped during that
Really?
trip. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
a great switch to flip.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, agree.
Good. Thank you so much for being on the Just Hyke podcast. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience?
I don't think so. One thing I would say is I am trying, for my social media presence, I am trying to do a lot more storytelling around things that are threatening nature, and try to use my platform much more for activism rather than here's these 3 nice overlooks. It's like, here's this nice overlook where they're going to try to put a data center. Here's how we can stop it. If anyone has a story of something that they think needs media attention, I would love for people to reach out.
Okay.
because I love storytelling in that
Nice.
way. Yeah.
And does it have to be Pennsylvania or can it be anywhere?
It doesn't have
Anywhere.
to. I'm actually working on something right now about a data center in Texas.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Which area do you know?
I have notes. I don't remember it off the
That's
top
okay.
of my head.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We got a few coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This story is really interesting and interesting in a bad way, I would say, because this farmer donated his land to the city for the purpose of it becoming a park.
Okay.
And almost 20 years later, they have now sold it for $10 million to become a data center. And so the legal battle that is going on right now of this farmer deeded it for park use, and now it is not park use and is the opposite of park use, and how that's going to play out, I think will have ripple effects across the country for stuff like this.
Definitely. If you're able to share, send me an email and
Yeah.
I'd love to know more about that.
Absolutely.
And just to bring it to your attention, in Texas, especially in the southern part of Texas, we have a big water issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so data centers, from what I understand, they use a lot of water.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot.
So, yeah. So water in Texas and data centers are a big deal. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it's something that, like 5 years ago, I don't think that this was really on any normal person's, like regular person's radar. And I definitely know it wasn't on mine.
I don't think it was a thing.
Yeah.
Just with so much
AI.
Just with so much energy, it's just grown and grown and grown and grown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much again. I appreciate you being on the Just Hyke podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I'll definitely follow you on social. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Right. Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on the Just Hyke podcast today. Remember, every step you take, no matter how small, is part of your journey from sidewalk to summit. Before we go, don't forget to check out the Just Hyke Trailmate, the lightweight trail tool designed for women who hike with confidence. You'll find it at justhike.com.